Hey, this is Victor Antonio, and today I want to talk about something that I haven't seen in a while, and I don't like saying, to be quite honest, but I've seen it again, so I want to bring it up and talk to you about it. It's called a weighted pipeline. Now, if you've never seen a weighted pipeline, let me first describe it to you, and then I'm going to talk about some of the issues I personally have with the weighted pipeline. Let's say you're a salesperson and I ask you to give me a forecast, and your forecast is the following. You have several deals in your pipeline. One's a $10,000 deal, one's a $5,000 deal, another one's $10,000, another one's $20,000. If you add those up, you got $45,000 in the pipeline. I say fantastic. But then I ask you, what is your comfort level? What is the probability of you closing that deal? And then you assign it a weighted factor. For example, for the $10,000 deal, there's a 50% chance that you'll get it. 50-50 that you may or may not get it, right? For the $5,000, you tell me there's a 60% chance that you might get it. Then there's an 80% chance you might get it, and on the last deal, there's a 70% chance you might get it. You then take these numbers, 0.5, which is 50%, multiply it by 10,000, you get 5,000. Do the same here, 0.6 times 5 is 3,000. Get the idea? Work the numbers across, and when you add a weighted probability to these numbers, now your new number is not 45,000. What you're telling me is that you're going to basically come in at about 30,000. That's your rationale. So, Victor, you know, I've looked at these deals that I've got in the pipeline. Based on the weighted probability I've signed them, I'm going to estimate that my quota, my number, will come in at about 30,000. Now I'm happy with that number. I'm thinking, okay, 30,000, not the best, but you're on target to hit your annual number. But there's a problem with this way of thinking. This is really a horrible way of thinking and doing your probabilities and your forecasts. For example, what we don't understand is that when deals are like this, are assigned probable outlines or weighted outlines, it's not reality, because a deal is either yay or nay. Binary, 1 or 0. Either you get it or you don't get it. Nobody assigns you a percentage, a probability of that deal. For example, right here, $10,000, there's a 50% chance you'll get it, and so you assign that a $5,000 number. Well, what happens if you lose that $10,000 deal? Most likely you'll lose the $10,000 deal. Client's not going to say, I'll give you $5,000, I'll give you $5,000. That's not the way it typically works. So using a weighted probability when calculating your forecast is really a lousy, emphasize, underscore, a lousy way of forecasting your revenues that you'll generate for the following quarter. Please don't use this strategy. The best way to approach this is to really talk with your managers and talk about guidelines to basically establish what's a legitimate risk and what isn't. For example, if I'm going to assign something an 80% probability of getting it, then what I want to do is sit down with my boss and define what 80% really means. In other words, if the customer has a budget, our product fits its need, it's a customer that's in our bailiwick of what we offer, and they've bought from us in the past, then I have an 80% chance that I think we can actually get that deal. In other words, by having guidelines to assign a probability may be a way to mitigate that uncertainty. And then anything below 80%, we're just not going to count it. We're going to assume it's going to be a goose egg. And if it comes in, great. But if it doesn't, we weren't depending on it. So if I'm looking at this from a sales manager standpoint, and you're a salesperson, and you bring this in to me, the only thing I'm going to consider real on this graph, in this pipeline, is probably this deal right here that's above 80%. Other than that, I'm not going to look at the other numbers and really depend on it. So right now, I'm looking at you and saying, you only got about $10,000 coming in right now in this forecast, and you're supposed to hit at least 30, I'm concerned. Get the idea? So again, if you use a weighted probability to calculate forecast, bad idea. What you need to start doing is look at your forecast, look what's in your pipeline, and then ask yourself, what is above, let's say, the 80% mark? Because nothing's ever 100% guaranteed, right? So look at what's above 80%. But again, what are the guidelines to determine that something is at an 80% probability? If you don't have these guidelines, then you're always guessing at whether or not a deal will come in. So this is Victor Antonio with another sales training tip reminding you, selling ain't hard when you measure it correctly, when you fill the pipeline up with more deals than you need, and you sell, and then it becomes easy. This is Victor Antonio signing off. Thank you very much. We'll see you in the next video.